Hello, Michael Stack here with AMAX. So I just got back from New Orleans, Louisiana. So I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 takeaway implementation points from the sessions that I attended. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. Point number 4. This comes from Dr. Jacob Lazarevic and Stuart Colborn's presentation on leveraging a medical expert to not get burned on causation. And Dr. Lazarevic was talking about this stat of really reading these diagnostic images. And here's the figures, and here's the really startling statistics when you're looking at really reading and diagnosing from an MRI image, for example. 30% of the time, given the same image, given to 2 different doctors, those 2 different doctors are going to disagree on the diagnosis. 30% of the time, 3 out of 10 times, those 2 doctors are going to disagree on the diagnosis from reading that image. Here's the most telling and most interesting stat. Same doctor, given the same image, 1 week apart without any further identifying information, the doctor reads it one way on day 1 and reads it a different way on day 7. So the same doctor is going to disagree with himself or herself 25% of the time. And given to 2 different doctors, they're going to disagree with each other 30% of the time. The takeaway point here is just this recognition that it's not an absolute diagnosis when you get that from the doctor. Have a second opinion ready to go. Have this understanding that just one diagnosis is not always the right diagnosis. Another just bonus takeaway from that session, that same session, Stuart Colborn made the point when talking about the selection of your doctor and the defense of your case. He asked the question, are you selecting the doctor because of the opinion that him or her is going to give you, or are you selecting a doctor to win the case? Very important distinction, really, in the selection of those medical providers. Okay, last takeaway point here then is from Bill Zachary's presentation. He was talking about jumper claims. Going back and sort of really relating to that same concept that Marcos Iglesias was talking about in his presentation with his biopsychosocial factors, Bill Zachary got into some more of these statistics of what this actually means in terms of cost. So we see this as a national trend, but talking specifically about Albertsons when he was the risk manager there. 3% of their claims represented 60% of those claims costs. 3% of claims represented 60% of the claims costs. A very small percentage of claims representing a very large percentage of the costs. We see this nationally. That figure is 5% of claims representing 80% of the cost. But specifically for Albertsons, this is how it worked. And here was his numbers. He wanted to bring this down in half, cut this 3% in half, affect a very small percentage, 1.5% of those claims, to bring down the costs in their program by 30%. So all these things that we're talking about from these takeaways, these weekly meetings, having those medical provider relationships at the start, being able to bring in, particularly in these weekly meetings, identifying some of those biopsychosocial factors early in the claim to bring in the resources necessary to influence the outcome of those claims. Those are my 5 key takeaway points. A lot of course, other information was discussed, but hopefully you review your notes and you work towards implementing at least just one of these points to start to see a dramatic result in your program. Now, if you're watching this video somewhere other than reduceyourworkerscomp.com, go ahead and go to that website. Sign up to receive a lot more free information on how to control and reduce your workers' comp costs. And to take it just one step further, you can go to workerscompclub.com/live stream training to join me on my next live stream training. Again, I'm Michael Stack with AMAX. Remember, your success in workers' compensation is defined by your integrity. So be great.